This is a Caterpillar CT660 dump truck. It's made by Diecast Masters and it's in 1/50th scale. Now this is part of their Core Classics series. Originally this truck was made by Norskott, and Diecast Masters basically did a reissue and they've added the figure in the cab, which I'm not really a fan of, but you can't get away from them now. You're sort of stuck with them. Overall, it's not a terrible truck, just like the real Caterpillar trucks. Some things are great, some things are not so great. Right off the bat though, it looks pretty good sitting on the shelf. The paint is nice, the polished aluminum, whatever you want to call it, has a good shine to it, like the wheels and the fuel tank, all that looks pretty good. The aluminum bed looks pretty good. I like the painted stripes on here. I like the wooden sideboards to match the color of the truck. That's pretty nice. Like I said, it looks good sitting on the shelf. The mirrors look good. It displays very well. Now you notice you have a drop axle here. It is permanently fixed in the raised position, so you can't lower it, which is a little disappointing, but at least it has a third axle. I mean, it's got something going for it. Now, I never had one of the Norskott CT660s, or at least this dump truck when it was made, but I seem to remember that the tarp on it worked, and on this it's fixed in place. I thought it worked, but I'm not sure. I really don't recall. If it did, that'd be nice, but seeing as how you can't lower the drop axle, I guess having the tarp fixed, you know, in the open or rolled up position isn't that bad. As far as the dump body itself goes, I'm not really a fan. I guess it's got an okay angle to it. I think it could be a lot better. The tailgate only opens so far before you start getting resistance. I don't really want to pull it open much further than that, just because I don't want to break something. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of material here holding the tailgate on. Now the cylinder here, it looks like you have a little bit more extension. There we go, you got a little bit more. So I mean, I feel like that's okay, but it's not great. Now if you look up here, oh, first off, the cylinders here just look goofy. I mean, they're ridiculously huge. I don't really like them. And they cheated. See that right there? They cheated on the dump bed to get a little bit more height out of it. And it doesn't really work. It won't hold itself up all the way, and that's kind of unfortunate. I think they sort of cheaped out on that a little bit, which is a little bit sad. As far as the front of the truck goes, like I said, it's not bad, not great, not terrible. The hood does open up and you get a little bit of an idea that there's a Caterpillar motor in there. Not a whole lot of detail. I mean, that's about the minimum you can put in to have a motor, I think. But at least it's in there. It doesn't really look like it, but these hoods, when you tilt them up like this, first off, the hoods are super heavy. They have a gas piston in there that basically assists in opening up the hood because it's so heavy. I can imagine that when that cylinder wears out, you're going to go to the parts place real quick and get that replaced, because these hoods are heavy. And it doesn't really show it that well, but this hood, the top of this hood, when you fold it up, or when you open it up like this, the top of this is about 9 feet in the air. So if you want to wash this hood and wipe it down, you better bring a step ladder. Like I said, it doesn't look that bad on the model, but I can tell you that is a pain in the rear to get cleaned up. Now looking underneath the truck, you do have a little bit of steering, but it's kind of a goofy, it's like got a spring to it where you can steer, but the wheels aren't going to stay there. It's kind of odd. Now, one thing that's really peculiar is the drop axle steers. It doesn't drop, but it'll steer, which is really interesting. I mean, I think to have it steer, I'd rather have it down, but Maybe that was just something that had to get cut out. Who knows? It's interesting though. It's an interesting feature. The rear of the truck is pretty basic. Got little mud flaps here. Now there's no hitch, which is kind of unfortunate. You can't put the you can't run those first gear tag along trailers to it. I mean, I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could figure out a way to get a hitch mounted in there to use those trailers. But as they are right out of the box, you can't. There's no hitch there. There's nothing to work with. So, like I said, overall they're not great, but they're not terrible. But they do look pretty good on the shelf, and that's essentially what they do, right? Anyway, that's about all I have about this truck. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. If you'd like to see more of what we have, please subscribe to Maryland Construction Diecast. And as always, thanks for watching.